Long time ago, there were two states within a country. The two kings of the states had agreed to sign a treaty, but later on, one of them violated and failed to fulfill the agreement. So the other king got irritated, and wanted to send an assassin to kill the dishonored king. However, the irritated king's councils have held three different opinions that proposed conflicting advices on how to handle this national affair. Hence, the king could not decide on the plan of dealing with it. One of the king's councils, having heard of the situation, summoned a wise man to go into the palace and give some advice to the king. As the wise man came, he instantly asked the king a question. There is a tiny creature called Snail. May I know if your majesty ever heard of it? The king replied, yes, I do. The wise man then continued, there are two kingdoms on a snail's two tentacles. The kingdom on the left is called the irritated, and on the right is called the savage. They are in a continuous battles over their territories, and thousands have been killed. And the winning army will chase after the defeated one, and then return after 15 days. The king said, oh, I assume that must be just a fictional story. The wise man then said, I will prove to you, your majesty, that this story is true and real. So, your majesty, do you reckon that the space of the four directions, east, west, north, and south, as well as the directions of the above and beneath have any limit? It is unlimited. The king replied. The visitor then said, assuming that you can let your mind travel freely across this vast unlimited space, and thus, as comparing the whole country to this vast limitless space, does it seem also the various states in our country here, can be deemed as seemingly nothing of significance? The king replied, yes, it is. Finally, the wise man spoke that, among these many states here in this easily accessible region, there is your state. Inside the state there is your city. Within your city, there is your majesty. Can you then make a clear distinction between yourself and the kingdom of the savage on the snail's tentacle? To this question, the king could only reply, no, I cannot. Then the visiting wise man went out of the palace while the king was left alone in a dreary mood, as if at a loss. This passage was written in the book of Zhuangzi, by the Taoist master with the same name. The fable of the war on the snail's tentacles, told by the wise man, is obviously fictional and serves only as a parable to indirectly express his viewpoint to the king. Yet, it does tell us some very important life lessons. From a human being point of view, the snail is just a tiny and very insignificant creature. So, even if there are, really conflicts and wars happening on the snail's tentacles, we will simply think that it is really stupid and ridiculous to sacrifice myriads of lives for a territory at that tiny place. However, if we can take a step backward, and compare our own situation in which, human beings is living in our own small world too, like the snail. Our planet and our world are indeed something as small as a grain of sand, in respect to the enormously spacious universe. Similarly, we, human beings, also tend to have conflicts from time to time, and go into war to each other, as frequently as the two tiny kingdoms on the snail's tentacles. We are easily provoked and irritated, and will act savagely to other people, if we believe that our interest is impaired. It is not unusual to see that we may easily quarrel with, fight or even kill one another for something we value to be of vital value and importance, say, land, resources, wealth and power, etc. Worse still, we sometimes could have started a conflict merely because of something that we ourselves believe are just trivial and relatively less important, for example, reputation, honor, respect, a space in the parking lot or a seat in a public transport. The parable also teaches us that human beings tend to view things only from our own perspective. What we think is big and importance which may cost us our lives to fight for, at a different and usually higher level, may be merely something not worth spending a second to care about. Viewing from the perspective of the vast limitless cosmic space, the wars on the snail's tentacles, as well as the large and small conflicts and battles, throughout the human histories, are equally stupid, absurd, insignificant, and basically meaningless. Big and small are just relative and man-made subjective concepts. So are other concepts like long and short, beauty and ugliness, honor and disgrace, rich and poor, strong and weak, win and lose, importance and unimportance, good and bad, life and death, etc., which indeed, in term of the cosmic scale, are pseudo-binary values. Therefore, if we can see things like the great and enlightened sages, nothing tangible in our world is really that big and important that will cost one's life for. Furthermore, if you think you are mistreated or something misfortunate happened to you, as long as you have a broad and open mind, you can accept them as they are. And similarly, you can lead a life effortlessly and let go of them at ease. On the contrary, being a narrow-minded person, you will be provoked by almost everything, even they are small and trivial. The birth or death of each and every single creature and thing are of no significance from the perspective of the universe, with endless time and unlimited space. Our existence as a person as well as the human race are just as short as a blink of an eye. Our lives are really, really short. It will be extremely foolish to waste our precious time chasing for things that will mean nothing to us at the end of the day. Therefore, we should lead a little more dashing and relaxing lifestyle, and try to accept all things as they are, with an open heart, and live our lives freely without too much worries. Don't waste our precious time in fighting for something that, indeed, are meaningless and of no importance at all. Just as Oscar Wilde ever wrote, "No one is rich enough to buy back his past." And, to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. We should do our best to live every moment of our lives mindfully and consciously, because it is the only thing that really belongs to us and with a value. Let's follow all the enlightened sages and the Taoist teachings, by living one's life effortlessly, and letting go of all unnecessary things. If you can do so, you will gradually find the tranquility and peace of mind in your life, and eventually, can be one with the source of all things, the Absolute One, or the Tao.